Sujusmasi, everyone, and I apologize for having to take that brief tour outside, but maybe we just needed some fresh air. Mr. Dominguez, please continue.
Just as an aside, Senators, as a former facilities manager for Continental for nearly 14 years, this is not actually a bad thing to have the fire alarm go off, because then you know it works, and then you can call the vendor in and try to figure out what happened. And also, it's good for the staff to know how to evacuate. It's a forced practice. It's a forced practice.
Absolutely, thank you.
So getting back, I'd like to conclude by saying I don't think serving as a commissioner on the GORA board will be a problem. If I think it will, I'll voluntarily step down. I do want to serve on that board. My colleagues on that board are really a great group of people, and it's just a great organization to work for. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I also just want to note the members of the public who've joined us in support of your nomination. Doris Limtiaco, Pat Munoz, Paul Mendiola, Manny Cruz, Lolo Leon Guerrero, Millie E., Sonia Siliang, John Dominguez, Monica Guerrero, Esther Camacho, April Manabusin, Frank Roberto, Mike Duenas, Tara Dominguez, Terry Quabo, Jesse Rojas, Esther Taitugui, Tina Mofnis, and Marilyn Guerrero. At this time, if any of you would like to give any oral testimony before we proceed with questions, please join Mr. Dominguez at the panel. Thank you. Please identify yourself and begin.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and Senators. My name is Frank C. Roberto, and I had gone this morning to drop my children. They go up there to St. Paul's, and I live in Santa Rita. And then I get this text from Mr. Carl. Please join me. Today's my confirmation. And Mr. Carl is probably the only person that I would have to rush home and change appropriately to come into the legislature. So by the time I got home, it was 8:30. So I had to change, and I know my shirt's not ironed and stuff. So, but to sit down here, and though I showed up, but to sit down and not say a word about this. I may be the big guy in here, but I cry because it means a lot to me. He means a lot to me, and we've heard his professional accomplishments, what his visions are and stuff. But I'm also here to tattletale a little bit with the conversations I've had with him. I went to his office, and the one thing that stuck out, he goes, "Frank, I'm so happy that I didn't get accepted to private companies that I've applied for." He goes, "Who can get this view? I'm only 7 minutes or 7 miles away from this work." But yet he told me he leaves at 7 in the morning, so I don't know what traffic he's fighting. But just the motivation that he has, I know he cleared a storage space so that his staff can have room, and and that's what he's all about. He's really about, what is it that I can do to ensure that your life, we work together. You don't work for me, we work together, and that you're motivated to come into work just like he is. He's a great family man, and though I don't think he'll tell me any more secrets because I'm going to lay it out today. Over the summer, he had to fly out to the mainland because I think it's your daughter-in-law or daughter that gave birth. And they wanted to be there before she actually gave birth. And I says, wow, one thing I truly respect of Carl, he's really a great family man. And those are great values that I look up to and stuff. And I just really want to give my full support, and I hope, Madam Chairman, and my fellow humble senators, that you approve of his selection. And want to thank again the time and the opportunity to come up here and share and tattletale about my good friend, Carl Dominguez. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberto, very much. And at this time, I'd like to ask if Vice Speaker Terlahi has any questions.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony this morning. And Mr. Dominguez, I'm very impressed with your testimony, and I want to thank you for really spelling out the duties of Bureau of Statistics and Plans. You're right, we only have 33 employees there, but they are really one of the most critical agencies of the government. I mean, they are the people who are going to inform all of us. All of our decision making is supposed to be based on the information coming out of BSP, the Bureau, and lead us. They're also supposed to be our planners, the people who take that information in the government and convert it into something usable, something to guide all of us, including boards and commissions, all the other boards and commissions, particularly the Land Use Commission, the Guam Legislature, everyone. So I want to thank you all for your work, and you for your, in the few weeks you've been there, really trying to get a handle on all of the very big responsibilities. I think, you know, there's so many of these you can pull out of this huge list that you've made. Just one alone of those duties sometimes is so big and very important for the government of Guam, critical. So I very much appreciate this Bureau and what its potential is, and I'm hoping you will continue to listen to those professional employees, and I like that they testified, that Ms. Leongura testified that you've listened and you appreciate their professionalism. So I think that's very important for directors, because we have people who've served in these bureaus their entire lives sometimes, I mean in working lives, I mean in their entire careers, and they know much more than any new director coming in. So I appreciate that you recognize that, and you allow them to inform you that way and are willing to work with them. So I hope that continues. I also appreciate that I've been reviewing a lot of the land use. There's been a lot of controversial things coming out of the Land Use Commission, but I always wondered, how could that be when the government of Guam agencies are supposed to be reviewing these things and putting their input? And I want to commend the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, because it's one of the Asian Application Review Committee members who really, I think, is taking their work seriously and taking that role of being the guardians for us of our coastal resources and all our resources, really. And such a huge responsibility, but I want to commend the Bureau for taking that role seriously, because when I review those applications, it's almost always in there that you say there will be impacts, and you caution the Land Use Commission against, the adverse impacts. And so I just want to ask you as director to stand up for that, because that is really what we're hoping that all the government agencies will be doing. And sometimes when you put it in writing to the Land Use Commission, I mean, we leave it up to them. But I would say, you are the guardian, right? And you are the director. Now you are the spokesperson. After all, the team does all the work. It's up to you to stand up for that and to point out to us if you're noticing that your input is being overlooked, because when your input's overlooked, that means that we've got resources that are at risk. And I think we should all work together, and I'm very willing to work with you to stop the risk to our coastal regions and to all our resources, our water, our land use. And so I want to embolden you in that regard, hopefully. I think your team has done a good job, and I want you to stick to that. I was wondering, who is the administrator of the Bureau's Guam Coastal Management Program? Is that part of BSP?
It's one of our divisions.
You said in your testimony you would be the secretariat for the
The Bureau
the
would
Guam
be,
Master Plan?
the Bureau would be the Secretariat, the Bureau.
Okay, the Bureau, and so the administrator of the Bureau's Guam Coastal Management Program Division?
Yes.
Who's that?
His name is Edwin Regis.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, I see. I was wondering too about the procurement she mentioned regarding this it's called the Comprehensive Guam Master Plan 2065.
Yes.
How is that funded?
I don't know how the original planning was funded, but it's the process has been completed. Now it's going forward with the additional planning, which requires that we get input at the grassroots level. Okay, and so it's gonna take some additional time, but it's gonna take a lot of effort. And that's a lot of it. It's the lot of effort that I'm concerned about, because I almost lost my breath reading all the responsibilities that the staff has to take care of. It'd be very difficult for our staff to tackle this project with all the things that we're doing. So how can we get it done? And our thought is that we look to get an outside consultant to help us do it.
I would just like, when you have a chance, to take a look at how the first part of that planning was funded, and if you could send some information to us. I just want to get a handle on that myself, because I was not in office when that was taking place, and I'd like to see. All right, and speaking of your list, one of these items just was put in the news recently, the 2018 enumeration of the FAS migrants in collaboration with Office of Insular Affairs. So this was big news in Hawaii. They're going to do one right in 2018, hopefully, to update. And yes, like I said, even one of these tasks is a huge task and huge impacts to Guam. So
this is very recent. The letter was sent to the governor not more than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was just reported in the Hawaii news very recently, so just in August. So I'm glad you are up on that.
Yeah,
I'm very glad to
we're
hear.
the go-to people for that.
Yes, and for all our census and critical information, again, that we use for many benefits that we receive, and to assess our needs accurately. And then I know with your work at DPW, you're familiar with the build-up, the impacts of the build-up, and the planning that had to be done at DPW. You outlined that in your testimony, and thank you for that. And I've seen the federal consistency reviews that have been coming out of your office from BSP, and I know that they're doing new rounds of EIS on certain parts of, or military activities. So I hope that your office remains diligent in addressing all those. And like I said, you are our guardians. I mean, you are the director of all our guardians. All our grantees, that they are being directed by you. You are our, almost, sometimes we look around the government and say, well, who's to blame for these things, and who's in charge? And sometimes it's not so easy, because the departments, we're all divided up. We've got our own, task. But BSP is really a place where you can tie that all together. And it takes a lot of leadership, I think, to try to tie that all together, and really to coax the other agencies to act consistent with what we've been mandated to do. I think we've got some very good laws on Guam, very unique, protection of our resource type of laws and programs. And so I just hope that you are able to stand up and protect those for all of us.
I'm the rookie there. I'm the rookie there, but after just these few weeks of, meeting with my folks, talking to them, but really seeing the work that comes across my desks, I'm very confident that we can tackle our goals and objectives because the staff is so talented and professional.
Great. Well, thank you very much for serving and your willingness to serve, and thank you again to all of you for all your your work, and for your family for being here and testing to your, and friends for your character. I think that really helps, and thank you again.
You're welcome.
Senator Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning.
Morning.
And I want to thank all those, the family members, and the wonderful team of the Bureau of Stats and Plans for being here. Director, I know that we've all watched you in the past at the Department of Public Works and how responsive you were to our community, and we thank you for your service at Department of Public Works. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me and to discuss some concerns regarding the Southern Development Master Plan.
Yes.
I know the Bureau has been very instrumental in the need to call to action this plan, and it doesn't. I hope it doesn't seem like we're just trying to get this done, or seem like we're trying to rush to move this plan. As we know, it's been 30 years since the creation of the task force, and what we've done is to we know that the mayors play an integral role in ensuring that these plans are, whatever they may be, are adopted, and their sentiments are met. So I look forward to working with you. We've reached out to the mayors, and hopefully they can take initiative and delegate some authority to the Bureau, knowing that they stand ready to support the mayors in this endeavor. And we all seen the challenges in our southern communities with recent proposals, and certainly that's absent a master plan. And that's the results we get when we have no plan down south. So I look forward to working with you. Technology is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity, not just for us individually, but also for the entire community, importantly our government. And this legislature established the Office of Technology. We thank the Bureau for participating in some of the discussions in the past to develop a roadmap going forward, and I wanted to get your thoughts going forward regarding the future of this office, and seeing that we tend to have been talking to my colleagues here, even the former director, Mr. Castro here, of the potential to restructure or reorganize or to incorporate the Bureau or the Office of Technology into the Bureau. Again, there's you outline a lot of important aspects of the Bureau, but knowing that we need to plan going forward of our IT needs throughout this government, and no longer waiting to adapt or being prepared to adapt to the ongoing technological changes that we need to be prepared for. We need to ensure that they're in a proper agency or proper home. So some of the discussions we've been having is that we feel that we would like to potentially start discussions if the Office of Technology will be a great fit with the Bureau.
Haven't thought about that, Senator. You brought it up, and we can discuss it further. We get together and discuss it further. I hadn't thought about it, but I'm a big believer in technology, and one of the things that has been brought to my attention by the staff is in one of our divisions, the PIP division, there's a lot of those plants that are taking up shelf space and floor space, and I believe prior to my coming on board BSP, they're already in talks with the Office of Technology to digitize all of that stuff so we can safely store it away digitally, and then we can take all the hard copy plans and park them somewhere else for storage and create better office space for our staff. So, and if I may take this opportunity, Madam Chairperson, I'd like to, in the very near future, invite you and any of other senators who might be interested to pay us a visit. And we'll schedule a visit, and you can come and see where we work and who the staff are of BSP, and we'll give you a little orientation tour and that sort of thing, and you really get to know BSP a little bit more than you know it today. So,
last question, Madam Chair. You point out clearly why the Bureau of Stats plans need to remain where they are. One of the challenges I had early on is justifying why the Bureau of Stats plans should remain where it is. I know your ASO, a lot of your division heads, maybe they can recall, we were challenged with where would the Bureau fit in the entire scope of the government. And I thank the staff for making the case to the administration that it should remain where it is, and I thank you for highlighting all the importance and the programs and everything this Bureau does for the entire government, and why it should stay where it's at. And I hope you're not faced with that challenge, and I'm sure they can share some of the proposals that were put in place to protect the Bureau going forward. And I'm here to support the Bureau, not because I'm a former member of the Bureau, but certainly we want to grow the Bureau. And I spoke earlier of the Office of Technology, and the former director, Will Castro, too, he's brought it up, that we really want to find a perfect home for it. So I look forward to working with you. You have my full support, sir.
Yeah, and again, you just brought it up, and I didn't anticipate this, but very open to discussing it further with you.
Thank you, Senator Morrison. Senator Castro?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Dominguez, you can see just by looking up here that this new legislature has high expectations of the Bureau. They're thirsting for something you have and something that you need to grow. More data, the fidelity of the data, and the ability to make meaningful use of the data to inform the decisions that have to be made on behalf of the people of Guam. And speaking for myself, I really think that this is the year of the Bureau. So take full advantage of the opportunity and the momentum generated by this body. I want to remind you for the record of things that you already know, but your staff is here, and it's great. This is testament to their confidence in your ability to lead. Not that I'm hurt, but it's my confirmation. I don't think I had anyone come. But that was by design, Mr. Dominguez. I wouldn't be so quick to laugh, Director. No, I'm just kidding. You know, the Bureau, Carl, is unlike any other instrumentality of the government. These two obviously see that, and the former director here, it's the nexus of all planning efforts.
Yes.
You know, you said it. It is the go-to agency for statistical information. You are the fiduciary agent for many grants that are not central necessarily to the Bureau, and that's a special place in this administration and prior administrations. Actually, when I first got to that seat, I was wondering how it is that we could be so stretched across the spectrum from marine resources and coastal management to socioeconomic, to economic analyses, to the overall review of things through the ARC, which is the Federal Consistency side of the coastal planning program. I'm looking forward to you closing the loop for this administration on behalf of this body in order to help paint a realistic picture of the future and an actionable plan through the 8 master plans, so that we can go offline with these senators and talk about how to make that possible. I really would like to take it beyond the vision that the governor had delivered to the people and deliver those 8 master plans. It's actually mission critical to how we appropriate monies going forward. Your background, I had no idea you had such a dynamic background from marketing, executive, account exec. That's important. And I'll share with you my perspective as to why. But before I get into how awesome you are and why you might be a great fit for the Bureau, I want to remind you that you're surrounded by some of the best employees in the government. You have...
You don't have to remind me.
Yeah. Well, this is really actually for the record, so we can replay it one day. One of the smartest people, you know, one of the smartest individuals in the government, Albert Perez, is here. Some the most meticulous and methodical planners, the chief planner, the new chief planner, Lola is here. One of the most compassionate division chiefs who's willing to come out any time of the day, especially in times of natural disaster, pre and post assessment, is Monica. And then you mentioned Edwin Regis. You also have another administrator in your midst, the GIS manager, Jesse, and all the support staff. But I felt most comforted by the deputy director, whose time-tested temperament and the ability to network to deliver certain things for this administration was really something I look forward to, because I was that young whippersnapper, well, maybe not so young, but excited whippersnapper, and he was able to temper and caution me. So I think you bring the best of those two worlds, Mr. Dominguez. I'm really impressed with your dossier, and so I'll close with this. Maybe the only person who will take exception to this would be Senator Morrison, but the Bureau is still my baby. Well, I share that title with him. It's our baby, so we entrust you with her growth. And I'll close with, I want to challenge you, as he did, and members of the panel are challenging you, to be innovative and to embrace technology so that you can take and harness that information and deliver it freely to the people and to all stakeholders. While we go into the next room to deliberate on the budget, I want to challenge you also to please be innovative and look past the obstacles and the no's and look for ways to make things happen. Go after the competitive federal funding and find the means to make wonderful things continue to emerge, because you do in fact have in your hands, sir, a center of excellence. And I want to thank you for accepting the appointment. And God bless you and that awesome team you got.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Chairperson, and with all due respect to you, I promise Senator Morrison and Senator Castro that I'll be calling them from time to time for advice and counsel. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator Castro, and thanks again, Mr. Dominguez. I just have two quick questions that I want to wrap up with. The U.S. Navy will be preparing a supplemental to the Marianas Islands Training and Testing, the MIT, Environmental Impact Statement, and the Overseas Environmental Impact Statement with the Guam Coastal Management Program under BSP. So I wanted to ask you what concerns you might have that can be addressed in a supplemental MIT, EIS, or OEIS.
I met with the group from Pearl Harbor last week in this regard, and I met them with Mr. Regis of GCMP just last week up at the GCMP office in Sinahanya. I haven't really looked in depth into this as yet, but I will soon. And I don't have an answer for you this morning, but I can shortly after I discuss that. So if you could beg your indulgence on this matter until maybe in a week or two.
Sure, and I look forward to the follow-up, because I think it's critically important
Yes.
that we're, really putting our best foot forward and making sure that we're doing our due diligence in ensuring that our resources are protected with regard to these additional EIS and all the environmental impacts that could occur under this training.
I was told at that meeting that they didn't anticipate a very significant change to the original MIT. So,
Okay.
that's sort of good. But I don't know the details as of this morning yet.
Okay. The Bureau is also preparing a program narrative for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, and you referred to a number of grant programs that are under your purview. It mentions the FY 2013 to the 2016 plan. Have the goals in the FY 13 to 16 plan been met, and can you provide the legislature with an update on that?
I don't. May I ask one of my managers to answer that? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Lola.
Can you just repeat the question again?
So we understand that the Bureau is preparing a narrative for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, and it mentions the FY 13 to 16 plan.
Yes.
So I was wondering if the goals in the plan have been met, and if you can just provide us with an update of that.
Okay, so what we can do is I can actually, when we get back to the office, we can provide you with written information, because it's really about reducing crime. So the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant Program requires, or doesn't require, but there is information regarding preparing a multi-year strategy. This grant has been in place since the 1990s, And so it has evolved over time. So prior to Mr. Dominguez being our director, we did have a stakeholders meeting, and we are working on the FY17 to the FY20 multi-year drug control, violent crime, criminal justice systems improvement strategy. So the goals and objective is centric to reducing crime on Guam. So we can provide you with data on that. And so really the idea is it allows us to fund programs and projects to address the narcotics interdiction efforts. We provide funding to our only rape crisis center, which is through Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. We also fund sexual assault prosecutor with the Office of the Attorney General, as well as we also provide funding to address improving Guam's criminal justice information system as it pertains to technology. So we've actually, over time with these funding, we've actually funded and implemented the Office of the Attorney General's prosecution case management system, the Guam Police Department's police records management information system, the Department of Corrections adult correctional management information systems. And with ARA monies, we actually funded a switch that allows the data from judiciary, from the judiciary, DOC, AG, and GPD for data to be queried of an offender's or criminal history of an individual. So I can provide you. What we'll do is we'll maybe give us a week time,
Sure.
and we'll provide you with the information.
Thank you both very much. And as the Vice Speaker mentioned, a lot of this critical data is very important for us to do a good job and to be able to address some of the recidivism rates, reduce recidivism in our community, and also to just ensure that our children and our families are protected from sexual violence and domestic violence issues, family violence issues. So I really look forward to working in concert with the Bureau and with you, Mr. Dominguez, as the director, to ensure that we have the best data and we can move forward in kind of creating the best policies that'll give us a little bit better handle on this situation. It's a really dire situation for Guam. I mean, I love to say that we're number one or we're number two in the nation for all of these great things, but we're also number one and number two in the nation for some of these very negative things. And so I look forward to working with you to address those issues that are plaguing our community. I also did notice in your testimony that you mentioned the Guam Coastal Cleanup. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to inform the public and whoever might be watching this morning. It's Saturday, September
16th.
September 16th. And who at the Bureau can somebody contact if they'd want to become involved with this coastal cleanup?
It's Marilyn Guerrero there. And what's your phone number? 475-9647.
475-9647, and it's Marilyn Guerrero. Okay,
yes.
so just Masi. And if there are no other questions on the board? Sijus Masi. This confirmation hearing on the appointment of Mr. Carl V. Dominguez to serve as the Director for the Bureau of Statistics and Plans is now adjourned. The time is 10:19 a.m. and individuals who wish to submit testimony will have 10 days from today to do so by emailing it to Senator Biscoe Lee at guamlegislature.org, or again, you may hand deliver it to our office at 163 Chalan Santo Papa here in Hagåtña. I want to thank you all so much for participating in this. As my colleagues have mentioned, it really helps us to get a full picture of the person that we're looking to confirm, both his professional and his personal background. Those are important to bring into the workplace and to ensure that we can make sure that the Bureau continues to operate and do its great work day in and day out. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you, Mr. Dominguez. Thank you to your family for participating this morning. And we will be in touch shortly. Sijus Masi.